Hi, everybody. Welcome back. It's Word Balloon Live. John Sutras here. It's a new week. It's a new month. We're days away from spring. Man, I saw the advanced Chicago forecast, and they're even talking about 59 degrees supposedly a week from today. I'll believe it when I see it. But it's great to welcome back one of the Word Balloon favorites, and he's got a great new project we're going to be talking about. He is taking over art chores on the Justice League with Brian Bendis writing. They are old collaborators. Dave Marquez, everybody. Good to see you, Dave.
Hello. Thanks for having me, John.
My man, it's always a pleasure, and I am excited about the prospects of the new uh, assignment for you and Brian. How many? I mean, I know you've done other books where there are multiple characters and stuff, but Team Hero books are different, and certainly I know about your run with Brian on Iron Man and the like. What did you What attracted you to doing Justice League?
So Brian and I have been itching to work on something together ever since I came over to DC. As hopefully longtime readers will know, Brian and I worked a lot together at Marvel. And one of the reasons why I came over to work with him in DC, the main thing was to work on our creator-owned stuff, and I couldn't do that while I was at Marvel. But while I was here, might as well do some DC stuff together. So we kind of been picking up some ideas about what to do, and Justice League just kind of popped up as an opportunity. I don't know, about like 6 months ago or so, while he and I were kind of plugging away at our creator-owned book, and so we decided that we should do Justice League. That would be a lot of fun. It is a lot of characters. As we were coming up with a lineup, we kept joking that it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we finally had to kind of whittle it back to kind of just a reasonable sized team. But I'm no stranger to doing big books. While I have done solo books, Miles Morales and Iron Man, we did some X-Men together, Civil War II, which was like every toy box.
Very true.
So it's compared to Batman Superman, my previous DC proper gig, it's a bit more going on. And also, as everyone knows, Brian's characters like to talk a lot, so there's that too. But if there's any project that I could do with him, Justice League is just like the ideal gig. It's the core book of DC's main superhero line, And what Brian excels at, and what I hope that I work well with him doing, is characters and character interaction and acting and emotional content. And that's something this book really lends itself towards.
Outstanding. We do have several images that you were kind enough to hit me with. Now, I know Infinite Frontier, the Zero issue comes out tomorrow as we're broadcasting Monday night. I'm assuming the first issue of Justice League comes out in March, correct?
Yeah, March 16th. It's like 2 days before the Snyder cut comes out. Yeah.
Oh, great. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's good timing.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So here's some cool little shots you provided. And we see, I'm trying to look there. That is Aquaman. So we see Aquaman, Superman, Hawkgirl, and Batman.
Right.
And shot and the foe. And from his back, I'm not sure who that is. But do we know? Is that a new villain?
It's Shazadam, as the internet likes to call him right now. Black Adam.
Oh, really? Wait a minute. I want to go back. So that red, is that like that's supposed to be?
So the guy with
the villain,
very, very foreground is Black Adam. The other guy is a brand new villain that Brian and I came up with. And I can't go too much into it without spoiling how it ties in, but he is going to be the main adversary for the first arc.
Okay, so Shazadan or Shazadam, essentially.
I don't know how people pronounce it.
Here's a couple more shots of Black Adam.
Yeah.
Hey, and again, I don't know if they're going for trademark or my favorite phrase in creating characters, is it toyetic? It needs to be toyetic. So I don't know if they're doing that to give it a more easier name, but he's fucking Black Adam.
It's Black Adam, and Brian and I have gotten such a kick out of all the Shazadam stuff. I don't think I'm not going to speak for Brian. All I can say is we're really entertained by the way the internet has taken it. So, yeah. In fact, we love it so much. After Justice League, we're doing a Shazadam Black Label book. So
That's great.
Everyone,
Hey,
eat it up.
let me tell you, and when I eventually talked to Brian about all the new stuff, I love Black Adam. I'm not going to call him Shazadam. I'm sorry. It's kind of, man, I'll tell you, I know I'm an old fart, and it's no different than when they turned Captain Billy Batson from Captain Marvel to he's Shazam now. And it's like, no, Shazam's the old white dude that he buys weed from in the subway. In the subway. Come on. Old man in the subway. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. I kind of get it. But no, I'm like, no, and I understand everybody knows the word. Obviously, they can't call the comic on the front Captain Marvel because in the 60s, Marvel grabbed the title. Totally understand all that. And I've come to be like, all right, Billy Shazam now, fine, whatever. So I don't know what they're going to call.
He's Captain Marvel to me too, man. So
yeah, no, God bless you, son. Absolutely. And I don't know what the hell they're going to do with Freddie Freeman, for Christ's sake, when he's always been Captain Marvel Jr. I look forward to whatever name the thing comes up with. But that's right. And obviously, yeah, whenever it was doing this Shazadam or Shazadan or whatever the hell I mean, that's funny because it reminds me when I've talked to Brian about the Marvel character Paladin. And Brian called Brian, have you had that conversation with Brian? Brian calls him.
No.
He's like, he was describing Paladin to me. And he's like, well, Paladin. And I'm like Aladdin and the magic lamp and everything. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. He's like, and he said, I'm like, oh, Paladin. And he's like, I call him Aladdin. And I get it. And honestly, the way it's spelled, it's like, why not?
Sure.
If you've never heard it. And also, if you never watched Have Gun Will Travel or ever heard the phrase Paladin, I'm cool with that. But Shazadam. All right, fair enough. But hilarious. So, I should, I'll find a cover shot for everything. But, here we go. Even some comments, right? Deviant Porg. Shazadam has become a TikTok dance. Has to become a TikTok dance. I have no problem with that.
I'll work on it.
That's very interesting. Absolutely. And it also says the page looks great.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ronnie. We just got started, but thank you very much. And Citizen Joy joined us. I love Mike Joy. Good to see you, Mike. Mike and I are long overdue, whether we're on the air or off the air, to have a new boxing talk. Because And what I love is the entire family. Actually, I can't speak for the newborn or the little one, the older one. But I know husband and wife are massive boxing fans, and I'm like, oh, Troy,
man, yeah.
I'm like, you married well, Troy. I'm like, that's great. Over the years, I've only had one or two girlfriends that have actually liked boxing, and I'm like, that's rare, man. And I understand, but it's so great. And yeah, man, the choice. They're like, oh God, did you see that fight? I'm like, of course I did. Absolutely, let's talk about it. So, too goddamn funny. Johnny Fitz says hello. Good to see you, Johnny. Thank you very much. But yeah, man, of course, no, the art looks great. Dave, who's coloring you?
So we are working with Cameron Bonvillain, or I honestly don't know how to pronounce her last name. We only worked together once on a cover at Marvel, and I love her work. And so when we were trying to figure out who would be coloring this, she was one of the first names I put forward. And thankfully, she was available. So she's doing a kick-ass job on it. I love it.
No, it looks great, man. Honestly, all these images look fantastic. Are these all from the first issue?
Yeah. These are all sequenced from the beginning of the issue, kind of setting up the thread.
And is Justice League, because I talked to Ron Viek like a month or so ago, and is it an oversized book where there's a League Justice League feature and then other features? And
exactly, yeah. So Brian and I have the main Justice League story, and then also Justice League Dark is also going to be in the book. And I have not yet read it, and I really want to. I'm itching to, but they haven't given me the PDF yet, and it's killing me. But everything that Brian says, it's absolutely stellar. And one thing that we're hoping to do, we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out, is we're trying to get it so that hopefully there's some connective tissue between the stories, so that it's kind of the whole is greater than the sum of their parts. Unique stories, but you can kind of see how there is the same stuff being developed under the surface.
No, I'm excited. And seriously, in both, I've liked the format. I've liked what I've seen formatically with the Future State books. And I like the idea of anthologies. And truly, ever since the summer specials and the Valentine's specials and all those oversized books have come out with their 10-page stories and, a bunch of 10-page stories. No, I really think everyone is packing a lot of story in a limited space. And also that goes with the digital first books as well. Mm-hmm. That feel fuller than half the size of a paper book. I never
For
feel
sure.
like I'm getting cheated when I read a digital first book online. So no, it's I really think everyone's stepping up and pacing and things like that. Are your and forgive me if you said it because I was looking
Yeah.
at comments as well. So are your lead features, are they 20 pages or so, or what? Like
Yes, it's standard 20 pages
okay,
for Brian and I. Yeah, we fought for oversized, but apparently I'm not fast enough for that. So
very
20
cool.
pages it is.
No, that's cool. And
Hey, Harris, how's it going, buddy?
there you go, another Greek. Good to see you, man. They're excellent. It's so funny, Arstead, is at least that's how a Greek would pronounce your name. I know. They've had, my name very basic, John. Everyone in my family was a Peter or a Dimitri, so that's James, a Williams, people like that. So every now and then we have a few Aries and we've got a few Augies, and I literally had an Uncle Plato, so I'm always happy to see
Oh, nice.
a real name, a real Greek name like Aristides. That's fantastic. So again, I haven't brought up the lineup. Uh, who are we missing? So we got, I'm going to say it: Black Adam, Batman, Superman, Hawkgirl, Aquaman. That's five.
Yeah, so let me run through it. So it's Batman, Superman, Aquaman, the Flash guest stars, but is not technically on
Okay.
the team.
Okay.
So I don't think I'm spoiling too much with that because in the solicits it says guest star occasionally.
Okay.
Or maybe I have broke the internet in half.
Oh my god.
Who else? So Black Adam is a featured character. I won't tell you exactly how he ties in.
Okay. Fair enough. That's
We also have Naomi.
Naomi's part of the team. That's great.
She's in the mix. Yeah. She's gonna be a big part of the story as for how, again, the official lineup versus who's featured in the book. This is who's featured in the book, and people can figure out as they read
Sure.
how that works. And then we also have some Green Arrow and Black Canary.
Great.
On. So yeah.
No, that's great, man. No, and again, obviously over the years, all of those people you've mentioned have been members of either the Justice League or Black Adam as obviously a JSA member. And I know, like Namor, Black Adam can be an adversary or another hero, and that's what makes the characters so great. I like your designs and whatever new embellishments you've done to Black Adam.
Thanks.
Tell me about the opportunities you've had to take designs and put whatever spins on them. Again, going back to a lot of your Marvel work, and especially specifically Iron Man.
Right.
You got to play with the armor and stuff like that. So, what have you been able to play with as far as Justice?
Yeah. So one character that we featured on. So there are two covers we've released so far. One of them is kind of like a silhouetted, kind of hinting at who the lineup's going to be. And there's a second cover that's like a big double. I'll see if I can find it and I'll share it with you.
Yeah, if you're looking for, as you're looking for it, I'll keep looking as well for stuff.
And so there's the Infinite Frontier kind of promo image that's also going to be a wraparound cover for the issue. And on it we have Hippolyta, who is going to play a role of some sort, and she's the one I got to do the most redesign with, as well as the new villain that people have seen. In these images, the guy with the big horns and stuff, which, of course, as soon as I draw him, then Snyder comes out with his redesigns, and they have giant horns, and it's like, come on, man. But I tried calling him and asking him, but he wouldn't back down. So, and with all these characters, for the most part, like when it comes to this kind of gets down to the kind of Marvel versus DC difference to begin with, which is that with DC, you're playing with icons. And these are designs and characters that, in addition to kind of being more symbolic compared to the Marvel characters, which are much more kind of like lived in the way I think about them, like, the psychology of who the character is. Captain America is Steve Rogers, right? Superman is Superman. Like Clark Kent Superman is the main character. Similarly, the designs, I'm not going to mess with them too much, especially for the icons. I'm not allowed to anyway, right? So when it comes to me playing with them, it ends up being subtle stuff that I'm not sure most folks would really notice, but artists spend a stupid amount of time thinking about it. Like, how high do the shorts come, right? That's something we all kind of, how does Batman, like, if his pouches are too high, can he bend over or not? This kind of stuff. So it ends up being really minor, subtle stuff for them. And then other times it's just when you draw a character over and over again, it becomes a matter of what's your shorthand? What's your shortcut to drawing it interestingly and hopefully where it doesn't take ages and ages and ages to draw it? So I have forgotten to draw Aquaman's tattoos dozens of times. I'll draw the page and I'll after the fact. I'll add in the tattoos after the fact.
Okay.
And then the colors are coming in, and I realized that I forgot to give Tamara the tattoos to color. So, you may see Aquaman starting to wear a jacket or something soon. I don't know. Just don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
No, I understand. I totally understand.
Yeah.
Also, and again, love Jason Momoa. Brilliant casting.
Yeah, totally.
And everything. And I kind of like the comic book compromise to take classic Aquaman
For sure.
and kind of bring him back to his rock and roll hair and everything and get him as close as we can get to Momoa. Because really, as I've discussed with Kelly Sue, she's like, oh, I get to write Jason Momoa. Fantastic.
That's great.
So here's a cover for, I believe, issue 2.
Well, this is a Future State cover.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, of course it is. Oh, because there's new Batman. There's Wonder Girl and
here. Let me see. I'll pull them real quick and see if I can.
No problem, buddy. Yeah, no. I grabbed this from eBay, and yes, shame on me. I do see that it's Future State, a variant for issue 2, I believe. But yeah, I'll keep looking here, man. Is it no? That's Ancient Justice League. That's hilarious. And I got all right. Here's the great group shot that has Black Adam. Well, everybody's in silhouette in this one. Oh, here's one maybe that I'm going to use, and I'll copy it. Sorry, everybody. I know everybody listening. It's like, John, we can't see what you're talking about. Will you shut up?
Great audio content.
Exactly. Well, seriously, like there are some great Chicago radio people who would like almost sound like they're cleaning their studio while they're on the air. Like this goes here, and this goes there, and it's no video at all. And I'm just like, I don't know what this is supposed to do for me. So whatever. But in the meantime, we do have questions, and I can start popping these up, and it's great to see some of these. Wesley Jones, and again, well, did you and Brian go over the lineup? Did DC hand you guys the lineup? How did the lineup come about? Let's start there.
So there were a series of meetings that our editor Alex Carr and Brian and I would get on a Zoom call, and we would just hash out, starting even before there was a lineup, just like what kind of story we're wanting to tell. What's the flavor of our Justice League going to be? And pretty early on, Brian and I knew that we wanted our book to be something that, after an exhausting 2020 with COVID and everything else, and just feeling as if like the world has just been a really kind of like, it's been a bummer of a place for a while. We wanted this book to be something that people can read and come away feeling a little bit uplifted from it. Not to say there isn't dark stuff in it. You got to have drama and conflict and some degree of darkness in order to appreciate the lighter stuff that's going on. But something that Brian and I do, hopefully that comes across to readers, and when I've heard from readers at cons and when they've written to me and talked to me on Twitter and stuff, is the character-focused work that we do, Brian and I, is what I think that's our best work. And that's something we really want to kind of hammer home. A book that brings a little bit of lightness to what is otherwise kind of a dark and depressing world right now, and also something where people can really engage with characters. And that, from the very beginning of the conversation, that's what our focus was. From there, it was a matter of, well, we're talking about the Justice League. It's, well, justice for whom and what does that mean? And that's an idea that we're exploring a whole lot.
Okay.
I think that it's very easy for a lot of people or for a lot of these superhero and Justice League stories to feel as if these are gods, and a lot of times, I don't know how to phrase this.
No problem.
Some people get left behind in the stories, right? The point of view given in these books can be very limited, and we want to broaden out kind of who is actually who's benefiting from all of this, who's actually seeing justice done, who's left behind, and how is that being addressed. These are the kind of conversations we had initially. So I realized this is a bit far afield from what your initial question was. These are the conversations we were having. And from there, it became, well, are we then representing enough of the DC universe in our story? And one thing I know that Brian has said, or that's been thrown out there, is that with this version of Justice League, there is the kind of the core lineup. We're also going to be bringing in characters from throughout the DCU as the stories, justify their use or require their use. And that's why you have characters like Black Adam showing up. Why you have characters like Naomi showing up. Why you have Hippolyta showing up. But we're kind of pulling from different parts of the DCU as the story kind of moves its way through the DCU, hopefully kind of trying to address this question of, has the entirety of the DC universe always gotten justice from the way the heroes fight? Not always. So we're going to be exploring that.
Fair enough. And it's very funny because again, at the looking at the comments, as Wesley pointed out, and I flashed it up earlier, he said the best runs start with the Big Seven from my memory. I agree with that, but really, even going back to the Bronze Age, Silver Age, even for that matter, like when Adam Strange first showed up with the Justice League, and they went after Kanjaro, or during Meltzer's period when he was writing Justice League, and Red Tornado was part of the group, and Vixen, and Roy Harper's Red Arrow and stuff. I always like you said, that you have a core of the big group, but then also include other members as well as the story necessitates, and then they need that power, whatever that special power is, or obviously as you guys define what justice is. I get it. I totally understand. Is this an image from?
Yes, that is the one. That is the one. So
okay.
So there on the bottom right, that is the new Hippolyta design, and her part of the story. It's going to take a while to kind of get into it, but without giving away too much of what happens with Future State, the status quo of the DCU by the time our first issue starts will be a bit different from what it was before Future State ever happened, and Death Metal and all that stuff.
Sure.
So, the way that different parts of the DCU are reacting to the decisions that the characters have made are going to make some characters happy with the way things have gone, and others very concerned with the direction things have gone. Which is why you have this shakeup. You have three faces we're not used to seeing in Justice League front and center, and why they're there and what they are wanting to accomplish is a lot of what our opening arc is about.
Understood. Comic Boom wants to know, how old is the character of Naomi? Your drawings have her appear around 16. Is there a specific age for her? Why isn't she in the Teen Titans?
Teenage, and she's high school age. I know that. I don't know exactly what year.
We'll talk to Brian about that.
Yeah. As for why she's not on the Teen Titans, I'm not writing the book. I couldn't tell you. But one thing that Brian and I talked about a whole lot with Naomi is just like she's a powerhouse, and we think that not only does her power level justify her playing in the big leagues with Justice League, also her perspective is really important as well. One thing, and this is kind of is relevant to the real world as well. A lot of times the decisions are made by people who are not representative of the rest of the people who are affected by what's going on. And similarly, Naomi brings a youthful perspective that is much needed, and a new perspective and a fresh perspective that it brings to light certain issues and certain interests that, Superman and Batman and the rest of the core crew, they don't have experience with, or they haven't considered, because they've been doing things the way they've been doing it for so long. Sometimes you need some fresh blood to kind of ask the question that they never thought to ask. That's what she's there for.
I understand. And, again, going back to other teams and other runs reminds me very much when Jeff Johns, Dave Goyer, and those guys at the beginning of the 2000s were doing JSA. And that's the best thing about DC, and Marvel is catching up with the various changes they've made over the last 20 years in particular.
Sure.
But in DC, it's always been part legacy and family, and JSA was always like that. And I like the idea, especially with the JSA, when we were dealing literally with the senior heroes, welcoming in new young heroes and really training them and really helping them become better heroes through their example. Also, the contrast and the conflicting discussions of how to solve a problem with the younger heroes and the older heroes. So I think that's great, and I'm glad to see it come to Justice League. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And based on without what you want to, you don't want to give away things as far as spoilers.
Right.
I think you're doing a great job of explaining, how the thought behind this group and these characters and why. So I've got a ton of questions, and I want to get to more of them.
Sweet. Let's do it.
Let's see here. Okay, Steve Commander wants to know: will the Atom, and specifically, I guess Ray Palmer, not Ryan, be showing up at all? And if you can't say, that's an answer. If you can say, that's great too. It doesn't matter to me.
Sure. For the opening arc, no, I can say that, but we are constantly bouncing ideas off each other for who we can bring in later on, and sometimes it's a matter of, well, they aren't a good fit for this story, or you can only fit so much into an issue. Other times, other people are telling really interesting stories of those characters within the DCU, and we don't want to get in the way of that. And one thing that we've worked really hard with, kind of behind the scenes, this is not too much inside baseball, but we always want to make sure that everybody feels as if they are a part of we're all part of the same project. And so we don't want to get in each other's way. We also don't want to keep anyone away from other creators. So it's a balancing act. And in this case, for the Atom specifically, not in the opening arc. In the future, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, and I get what you're saying, and I really love that attitude at DC now, and it's so sad, and certainly I think it was purely circumstance and agreements made with various creators. Mm-hmm. But when Dwayne McDuffie, the great writer, got a chance to write the Justice League comic book after so many great Justice League animated stories, and the lineup they gave him, and fans are like, why? Where's, and it's so funny because Steven's question even dovetails in it. At the time, Batman was unstuck in time, and they wanted Dick Grayson telling his Batman story, so he wasn't in the Justice League. Mm-hmm. Superman was walking across, the country, so he couldn't be in the group. Wonder Woman, they were messing with, and they were thinking about, de-aging her, so she didn't fit. And literally, Dwayne wrote online to fans, I'm in the offices saying, can I use Hawkman? No. Can I use the Atom? No. So you had a team where it was Zatanna and Gypsy and Plastic Man and Elongated Man, because you can't have enough stretchy guys on a superhero.
Well, and the thing is, it's not as if you can't tell interesting stories with them. Don't get me wrong. I mean, for a while, Brian, we were wondering, well, do we even want to use any of the primary core characters? And maybe we can have a completely different lineup. And the way things shook out, we decided that actually, we really would like to have at least, the core of it, maybe not the entire lineup, but, we have a lot of them there. And the other characters then that are brought in, the thing about team books that is so fun is the differing perspectives and the way the heads kind of bang against each other. Yeah. Which of them go in the same direction, which of them butt heads. That's where the interesting stuff happens. And that's why I think changing up the lineup every once in a while is really valuable, because it gives you fresh material, fresh ammunition to use when you're telling, new stories.
Totally agree, buddy. Absolutely. Let's see. Here. Okay. Comic Boom. How many issues of Justice League do you have completed? Will we be lucky enough to have you draw other DC titles as well? Do you have room in your?
So proprietary secret. I can't say how far ahead I am, but don't worry. I have a good amount already finished. And I'm going to be at DC for a while. So I'm under contract there, and we have every intention to keep working together for a good bit. So I'm not sure what will be next. Right now I'm focusing just on Justice League. The other priority, like I mentioned earlier, is that Brian and I are working on a Jinx World Creator-owned project, and those two things have me up to my gills. So that, plus I have kids and other stuff going on. There's life. Well, I would say life outside. I have life inside my house, and it's very busy in here. But
warm weather is coming, David. The kids will be. I understand, and I'm sure you'll protect the kids, but we'll all be able to breathe a little bit better post-winter. And
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
I know, believe me, man, we all are. I completely understand. That's awesome. Now, back to the lineup. Did you have any characters that you really wanted? And I'm sure you're thrilled to be drawing, all the big DC characters, regardless. But was there any sort of quirky hero that you've been able to, get in the book that. And again, if it's someone that you can't announce right now, I'm not here to spoil your stories.
Oh yeah, no. So yeah, there's certainly a lot of characters that I would love to kind of throw into the mix, and they either weren't a good fit currently, or it didn't make sense trying to bring them in given what else is going on with them. There was recently a cover that I just finished featuring Batman and Grifter, and for those who know me, Grifter is like my favorite character of all time. Just
That's cool.
I was a late '80s, early '90s. That's when I got into comics, and so during all the Image boom, all the stuff that was my jam. So I fought to get Grifter into the book. Everyone and I agreed with rationale. Didn't really fit. Fair enough. So I got to draw a cover of him, and at some point in the future, we'll have to wait and see.
I understand. Brian says, sadly, no Grifter expected in the Justice League.
See, this is the shit I got to deal with.
Oh, believe me, I understand. I understand, man. Absolutely. Voodoo. Hey, I want a crossover, please.
I would be into it.
I haven't read the Milestone preview yet.
I haven't either.
And really, because that was one of my questions was what the hell's going on with the Milestone stuff? So I'm glad that something's out there for us to read, and everybody involved. Like, I'm really looking forward to Reggie writing Milestone characters, Reggie Hudlin and stuff. So, this is... Deviant says, I'll repeat what I said earlier, make Shazam dance, and it'll be great marketing. That's kind of like, do you remember on Adult Swim? They took some like piece of Aquaman animation and they manipulated it so he was like dancing, and he was like in a pool just kind of dancing. That's how I envision a Shazam TikTok dance. So there we go. Oh, Shazafter, says Brian. I don't know what the Shazafter means, but there you go. Hey, I tried to get into Voodoo with the New 52. I feel like there was more story there. I agree with that. I'm with you. No, this is a great opportunity again and also some of the characters that have been introduced. I want to see Far Sector Green Lantern interact with the Justice League.
Totally.
Will the stories be based on Earth, or are there cosmic stories coming up as well? Again, you don't have to go into detail.
So, like I said earlier, the whole question that we're kind of trying to address here is justice for whom, and that there are lots of other perspectives worth exploring. I'll leave it at that, but say there are lots of perspectives we'll be exploring.
All right, fair enough. Paul says something nice. He loved your art of the Bat Family.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, also with Brian. Yeah.
Excellent. Very cool. Oh, here's something interesting. Semi-off topic. Was Justice League Endless Winter also a subtle way to move Black Adam's character back towards the Justice League? That's interesting.
I think that for obvious reasons, Black Adam is a character that DC and Warner Brothers cares a lot about, and those of us who are working there care a lot about. So sure. It shouldn't come as a surprise that he's getting a lot of attention. And there's a lot of really meaty material there to dig into, so it's fun to do.
I understand. It's funny too because I didn't see the premiere of Young Rock on NBC. Dwayne Johnson.
I haven't seen that yet. Nah.
But so my friend showed it to me this weekend, and I'm looking at him, and listen. First of all, looks amazing. We're about the same age. He might be a little bit younger than me. I don't know. And I understand, and I know he's got a million movies to make. The clock is ticking. We've been asking, please do the Black Adam movie sooner than later. Fucking hurry up, man. I mean, and again, much like Downey playing Tony Stark, I'm sure you have years to show us your Black Adam, Dwayne, and we're all looking forward to it. But it's like, that is money sitting on the table. Exactly. Time is ticking, and I literally think that's money on the table waiting to be scooped up. Black Adam's whole backstory is a fantastic person of color story, and his issues, and really Jeff and company and Don Kramer and everybody at JSA, they touched on those on some of the best JSA stories as well. And if anyone should be more conflicted and at times a hero and at times a villain, it's Black Adam, because of his roots and the way that people of color go through unique problems that all the white heroes don't have to go through, or white citizens. And I think that's great. And again, I thought it was terrific in JSA, and there's still a lot to delve with in that story for Adam. and
Oh,
I look forward to it. I think no, he's a great. And I nothing against. I love the whole Marvel family. Love
sure.
Billy, I love Mary, I love Freddie. But yeah, I mean, really, the spin to like it's easy to make Black Adam just a bad guy. What if he's a conflicted guy that
Oh, totally. Yeah,
yeah,
and it was interesting also is that I was never that huge of a Black Adam fan, and quite frankly didn't know a ton about him. I knew he was the Captain Marvel, or sorry, he was the Shazam villain, you're right, and I knew a bit of his backstory. But as I was getting prepared for Justice League, I did a deep dive and really kind of familiarized myself with. It's been shifting over the last 25 years what his backstory is, but you get an idea of who this guy is, and just like you're saying, you can just make him the bad guy, but all of the best bad guys, first of all, they don't view themselves as bad guys, right? There is a reason why they do what they do if they're written decently enough, and if they haven't been, then you find new material there to do it with. But he has a lot of motivation and a lot of tragedy in his background, and he's also a ruler of an entire country. And how does that then factor in when you have all this crazy shit going on and you don't have any say in the people who apparently are like the policemen of the entire world? So again, perspectives matter, and who's justice for whom. This all plays into the same stuff we're trying to do.
understood. Did you watch Superman and Lois last week?
I have not yet. No. Yeah, no. So I don't get a lot of free time, so
Yeah, I get that too.
I have a list of stuff that I'm looking at. That's one. I did see, like everyone else saw, that opening scene with him in the green car and the kid and the hat and everything, and it's speaking my language, man. It's
Oh yeah. Well, again, you got Jeff is one. First of all, Berlanti knows what he's doing with the DC universe. I'll never disagree with Greg Berlanti. You got Jeff writing, and Jeff knows Superman. You got Guggenheim writing. Guggenheim knows Superman. The showrunner Todd Helbing or Bring, forgive me, I don't remember his name exactly, and Sarah Schechter as well. Everybody has proven themselves either in the CW on other shows or even their comic book writing and stuff. So Superman and Lois are in really good hands, and that whole opening really, God, I mean, they don't go to commercial until the first 17 minutes of the show.
Oh wow!
So that first act, it's like everybody relax, don't worry, Superman is back, and people that understand the character are writing Superman and understand Lois, and I like the kids. I'll let you discover it on your own. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I'm sure it will figure into the conversation when I'm talking to DC people in the weeks ahead. So yeah, it just came to mind to ask. Here, Aristotle's back in here, or Aristides, pardon me. Dave, are you working 100% digital art? Is that actual paper on your drawing board?
So I do both. Because of time constraints, and also I really like working digitally. I find it very freeing. It's a very flexible, and it's very easy to explore working digitally. So the majority of my work is digital. When I have time, and I have something that I can devote a little bit of love to, in a way that isn't to say I don't love doing my digital work. When I have time to, I like putting some ink on paper as well. And so, let me see what I got over here. So, this is the cover to issue 3, I think, or issue 62. So that's on paper. And
that's great, man.
Thank you. Oh yeah, and then so suck it, Brian. But so there's my nice cover. Yeah. So that one I did on paper. So,
are you getting a chance, Dave, to do a lot of covers?
Yeah, actually, when I was working on for a lot of 2020, I was working on the Creator of thing with Brian, and the way that I kept my editors at DC happy is I was doing a bunch of covers for them. So I did a ton of Wonder Woman covers for Mariko Tamaki's run. I did most of the covers for that, or I did all of the main covers for that. I did some Future State covers. Yeah, so bouncing around here and there. It's always a matter of it's a jigsaw puzzle trying to figure out what do you have time for. And I'm in a fortunate position where I'm asked to do more stuff than I'm able to do. I would love to do more covers, but at the end of the day, I'm an interior artist. I love telling stories. You can tell stories on covers, but it's different when you're actually telling a full sequential story. And that's my focus.
I understand. That's interesting to hear, because I know other artists that once they've graduated to covers, they're like, I'll stick with covers. I don't have the time to do interiors anymore.
Right.
Whatever. I mean, Alex Ross immediately comes to mind.
Of
That's
course. Yeah.
why it was so great when he did do those interiors for that. I keep going back to JSA because again, I see a lot of parallels in what you and Brian, at least on the surface, are doing with Justice League to that JSA run. So yeah, when Alex came back for Thy Kingdom Come, that was a
Mhm.
great opportunity. I wonder too, and again, maybe more of a Brian question, and I don't want you to spoil, but the idea now of the omniverse versus the multiverse, is there an opportunity to bring back versions of characters in a main book and suddenly, much like, God damn it, I'm not thinking of the name of it, but the story that Andy Schmidt and Jurgens and I think Andy Lanning, that those two specials they did, where it was a team that was assembled with Booster Gold, where it's Commandy and 1939
Right.
Batman
Right. Yeah.
and
I'm blanking on it too. Yeah.
yeah, Clark Kent, Superboy, and stuff. So I mean, but you know what I'm saying. Essentially, is there a chance that we could see JSA 1940s Green Arrow version show up, in a Justice League book? I mean, obviously that's not going to happen,
Yeah.
but
I
that.
mean, yes, we've had conversations about how far we'd be looking for the lineup. Beyond that, I'd be either giving away what we are or aren't doing.
I understand.
But one of the cool things about the DCU, and when I first started working at DC, thing I mentioned to Brian was like there's a kind of like a layer of weirdness on top of the DCU that isn't there in Marvel, and the multiverse and the omniverse is part of that. So there's a lot of really kind of meaty stuff to dig into. And like I said earlier, we're reaching pretty far for different perspectives in this book, so people can,
All right.
find out.
Oh yeah, and again, Deviant Poor got the name right. Are we going to see? But he answers Z Swimmer, who wanted to know, will we see the cool looking Flash from Future State Justice League? And that's Jess Chambers, who obviously is tied to Jesse Quick and Johnny Quick and all those people and everything, and another speedster.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah, so the version of the characters that we had, at least in the opening arc, are the ones that we're all familiar with from the traditional DCU. As for the way that Future State and if or how we'll get to there, and that's all stuff that will be dealt with in due time.
okay.
We're going back to a fairly familiar DCU with flavor added that people will see as they get through the story.
Well, and that's been the fun of Future State, is getting a look at things years down the road, and the fact that now that we are back to current time in the DC universe, we're seeing the seeds of those things play out. So that's interesting. I mean, really, I've had great conversations with Philip Johnson following Brian's run. We talked last week about that, and James Tynan and I had a great talk about just the general direction of Batman post Future State. And I think there's honestly, it really no judgment on what came before, but it really seems this current status quo of DC creators are really being ambitious with their stories and swinging for the fences and coming up with novel ideas and approaches that I think, and again, as somebody who's been reading DC comics literally since the early 70s, 50 years or so of DC reading, holy shit. Again, I'm not ready to go, yeah, I think I'm done. I'll get off here. And I know people like that too.
Sure.
All I can say is I am intrigued, and it gets me excited to read these new stories. So I think it's pretty
Same
cool.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's very interesting. Again, Ari, I hear you, man. You need a PhD to figure out the multi-hyper infinite Flashpoint Zero Omni Crisis verse at DC, unless you're old like some of his fans. How you doing, everybody?
Yeah, man. I be honest, I have a hard time keeping up with it. So also because I will read this comic here and that comic there, but I can't keep up with everything.
Sure.
And I'm sure there are people there who have gone through and have done the spreadsheets and know where everything is. And if and when I start doing some DC writing and stuff, I will reach out to you and I will need your help because there's a lot going on.
Oh, that's hey man, anytime. That's hilarious. I'm glad to hear that, man. I want you to start writing as well as drawing and stuff. That's wonderful, and I hope you get those opportunities, or are getting those opportunities. All right, that's great. I've got a great Ultra, the multi-alien story that you're going to have to work on, kid. Even know that character? No, of course not. It's totally obscure Silver Age space hero. Everybody look up Ultra, the multi-alien. The design alone, and really, Dave, the design alone is entertaining. I should look for that. Should we get a good chewy question here, and if we go off on a tangent
right now,
I will look up.
All right.
Ultra and his crazy legs that one of them's a lightning, some sort of energy field or whatever.
Yeah, it's like there's fire. They got like a harpy thing going on. You got some green going on. Yeah. It's almost like an animal, vegetable, mineral man a little bit.
Right, or like somebody took too much acid and started off trying to draw Metamorpho, and instead drew Ultra the multi-alien. Man, what the hell did I thought that was a chiclet. I had no idea what I was taking right there. So,
and there's something about the 60s and 70s, the sheer unbounded, like, let's just get fucking weird and do some weird shit,
Well, and I think especially at DC, it was in response to all the great stuff that Marvel was doing, and it was funny because you had writers and artists in some cases that were maybe older men, or again just didn't have Stan's knowledge or energy, and they're like Bob Haney. I love Bob Haney. Bob Haney wrote Brave and Bold. He wrote the original Super Sons with Batman and Superman's teenage sons, shit like that. Always crazy stuff, or all the great Brave and Bold stuff that wouldn't make sense because of the different parallel worlds.
Right.
And Bob Haney didn't care. I got a great Batman Sergeant Rock story. Yeah, that's great, but Rock died at the end of World War II. Well, not my story. I don't care. This is Old Man Rock and Batman, and it's like, it's a 12-year-old. Fantastic. Where do I sign? Here's my 20 cents.
It's funny too because don't get me wrong, continuity is very important. At times, playing fast and loose with continuity, you get interesting stuff, right?
Yeah.
So there's an argument to be made.
Absolutely, man. All right, let's see. All right. And again, seriously, what I always love about these things, and for people just listening in, the chat sometimes breaks into these very interesting conversations alongside whatever me and the guest are talking about. So while David and I are talking, Zwimmer says, I didn't know that Ram did Aquaman. I never read Aquaman, and I swam completely for over a decade. You'd think it'd be up my alley. Well, it's a shame, Zwimmer, because I got to tell you, I loved Kelly Suzerain in particular. And I'm never sorry to see a new person taking on Aquaman. And Ram is one of my favorite new writers at DC. I love his creator-owned stuff. And again, I mean, God, Swamp Thing is amazingly intriguing. Catwoman,
I need to.
Catwoman hasn't lost a beat since Joelle left and Ram started writing Catwoman. It's all incredible stuff. And so who was writing Batman Superman when you were drawing it last year?
It was Josh Williamson.
Okay, it was Josh. I assumed it was Josh, but there you go.
Yeah.
Have you, because I understand in this new Infinite Frontier status quo, Josh, for a better description, is kind of the showrunner, writer. I mean, everyone is left on their own devices, but again, I know the Zero issue and stuff, and if I'm mischaracterizing it that way, or not your experience in the DC mix in that way with Josh, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, has he had any input on what you guys are doing with Justice League and the new status quo?
So not directly, at least not the conversations I've had. So that may be a question that Brian can address a bit better than I can.
Sure.
I was pretty involved with the development of Justice League specifically. As far as the broader Infinite Frontier initiative, I wasn't in big meetings or anything, regarding that. I chatted with Josh a bit over the last year, but I don't know how to characterize, who are the leading voices. I mean, obviously, the names you see writing these books, they have all been talking and all been playing a role in developing this stuff. So, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, going back to Batman Superman, did you enjoy working with Josh?
Oh, I did. Yeah, no. So what was fun about the way that book kind of came together was I knew I was going to be coming over to DC in order to work on the book with Brian. And it just so happened that right at the same time, Josh had been looking at launching Batman Superman at DC. He was a Portland guy. I was a Portland guy. And so we were actually having Thanksgiving over at the Bendis's, and Josh was there. We started chatting about it, and at that point, I wasn't absolutely sure I was coming over to DC. I was thinking about it, and one thing led to another. That Thanksgiving conversation led to us doing that book together. So it was a lot of fun. It took a slightly darker turn than I was expecting when I first dove into it, and that was something that was the direction with metal and death metal and everything going on. That was the direction that these stories were leading. And I can do dark pretty well. I just had a kid, and I was looking at maybe doing some lighter stuff. So that was something that given my druthers, I would have liked to tell a slightly happier or more upbeat story. But Josh and I worked really hard on trying to make sure that story resonated as best it could. And so now with Justice League, I get to hopefully with Brian kind of scratch that itch to tell a more upbeat story.
I understand. On that Batman Superman run, was that specifically during that Batman Who Laughs versus the two of them? Okay, so and again, not only did you have a chance to play with those designs, but also I'm assuming, did you get to create the Joker infected other DC heroes as far as their looks, or how much of that came from Capullo and what Capullo and Snyder were doing in metal and death metal and the like? You tell me.
Yeah, so those designs were designed by, I'm pretty sure, by Capullo, and also with some input by Riccardo Federici, who is an Italian artist who does amazing art. It blows me away how good he is. And so I played with the designs a little bit, but they were already kind of created for all of the metal stuff. But Josh and I talked a whole lot about how their transformations would take place, and the story side is where I had a little bit more input than on the art side. Strangely, but that's kind of the way that went.
Okay. Jimmy has a question. Comic Quirks with Jimmy. On Batman Superman, were you upset you couldn't bring back Kandor? I didn't know Kandor. What is the status of Kandor these days? I don't know.
Right after I finished, another good friend who I knew from Austin, where I lived before I lived in Portland. Then he moved out to Portland to kind of to join our little enclave. Nick Darrington.
Oh, sure. I love Nick.
He then did a couple issues of Batman Superman after I did with Josh, and he got to play with some of my favorite toys, which kind of killed me. That I shot my load with my 5 issues and then missed out on some more fun stuff. But yeah, he got to do some Ra's al Ghul stuff with Zod and Kandor, and I was a little jealous that he got to play with those toys because I would have loved to. So a little bummed, but you know what? At the end of the day, I got to read a fucking awesome Nick Darrington and Josh Williamson Batman Superman Kandor comic. So yeah, I got to read it as a fan. That was really fun.
I understand. No, Nick is brilliant. Loved his work with Hickman over the years. Loved what he and Brian did on Batman Odyssey. And I'm gonna have to go back and reread Batman Superman and catch out those issues that I missed. Wesley has a good question for you for your Marvel days. The art of Civil War II felt big. I'm no artist, but can you tell us a little about what went into the layout decisions? Absolutely, a lot of epic battle moments all throughout Civil War II.
Yeah, so I was trying to get into the weeds. I can nerd out on this stuff in a way that ends up I make no sense other than the people who are also artists. But the short version is that with something like Civil War II, or even with Justice League, given this large cast, it ends up playing a game of how can you make everything fit and make it legible as well. And so it all boils down to what are the big moments and make sure those are in place, and you kind of flesh it out, from there. We're always trying to find new and interesting ways of making a sequence or a page, sexy and interesting and exciting. But at the end of the day, it's all about making sure, is the story clear? Do you have your beats there? Are you driving home the most important things in every page?
Okay. I forget if it was an artist or a writer years ago that I talked to in terms of dealing with a team book. Pretty sure it was a writer. Mm-hmm. They had hero clicks of all their characters and literally would have them on a chessboard or a checkerboard. And as they, within the story, had a moment or whatever, they'd move them up a square or whatever. And that way they could be like, oh shit, I haven't done anything with Plastic Man, and he's 3, things back of everybody else. I better figure out something or whatever. And that's why I think it was a writer. But I mean, no, I get it, especially with a big team. It is that balancing act. That's why I always understood why both in the Justice Society and the Justice League, especially in the Golden and Silver Age years, the teams would break off into like duets and stuff like that, or trios, and that way it was a little more manageable for writer and artists to come up with a scenario where instead of dealing with 7 characters, you're only dealing with 3 heroes or 2 heroes, and it's easier to kind of divvy up the chores of how to handle a problem or whatever.
Sure, yeah. And also, I mean, like, I was referencing earlier about one of the fun things about a team book is who is moving in the same direction, who's butting heads. If you have all the voices in the same page at the same time, it can get muddy. It can be hard to kind of really focus on what are these areas of conflict. And so when you have scenes, this is maybe getting a little bit inside baseball stuff, but yeah, you want to make sure you have breakout moments where you have the 2 characters maybe that butt heads the most, put them in a scene together where it's just them. They got to figure some shit out, We do all these. We play all these games. We do all these tricks in the book, and it's a lot of fun. I hope you guys really enjoy it.
Well, and again, when Brian was doing Avengers, I loved how all that played out. I mean, that's the great thing is Brian is used to writing really good team stories, and you're right. You would have Camp A and Camp B, and whoever was in charge of those camps butting heads in the forefront, and especially in the Avengers, you'd have like Luke Cage and Spider-Man way in the back, the street guys, and it's like. Basically, I mean, certainly Brian didn't use this language, but essentially it was like, this is fucked up, isn't it? It's like, yeah, it is. Or who do you think's going to win? I have no idea. Or whatever. And it's like, and it's great because it like in the moment of a real tense, dramatic situation, you had 2 wise asses sitting there like, all right, what do you think's going to, I have no idea. Or like make a side bet. $5 says Iron Man comes on top this time. You're on. Just crap like that. So Jimmy has another question. On that Iron Man run, at the part where Tony kisses the lady that he was trying to court for almost 3 issues, and he ruins it by saying Hail Hydra. Did you laugh as hard as I did?
One of the fun things about working with Brian and all this stuff is when I get a script, the first time I read through it, it's, that's the only time I get to read it the way y'all do, where I don't know what's going to happen. And there are moments where I crack up. Once or twice, I've also gotten teary reading some of this stuff. So,
sure.
There's a stage where I get to read it as a fan, the same way y'all do, and I experience the moments hopefully the same way y'all do. Then, of course, my job as an artist is making sure that I really bring it home, make sure y'all feel everything that I felt reading the script the first time.
See, in a sentimental moment like that, and I remember very distinctly in Brian's Superman run, when Clark tells Perry that he's always been Superman all this time, and before he does, and it's great, and it's a silent page, and and that's something we should discuss. I'll give the example and see how it pertains to your time working with Brian. It's a silent page. So literally, for people who didn't read it or maybe don't remember the specifics, Clark kind of scans Perry with his X-ray vision, makes sure that his heart is okay, and before he hits him with this shit. And again, it's a totally silent page. It might have been a 9-panel page, but it ends with Perry hugging Clark.
Right.
Like, of course you are. I've always, just the subtext of what you knew was going on. I mean, yeah, you can't help but have the feels when you see something like that. I get it. So have there been times when you've been given a sequence with dialogue, you've drawn it, and Brian's taken away the dialogue and said, hey, man, your art's selling it?
It has, yeah. And there's an action sequence in, I think, our 2nd issue of Justice League where that pretty much happened. It was a fight scene with a bunch of, people shit-talking as they fight. He ended up taking the dialogue out because the what he wrote and what I drew just gelled so well we didn't need the words to bring it across. So it's a writer and artist don't always get those moments, even when we work really well together. Brian and I, there's some pages where we really I draw it isn't quite right, I gotta tweak it and stuff, and other pages it just flows. And this is one of the sequences where it really flowed.
That's excellent, man. That's fantastic. DeviantArt. I love that Perry and Clark page. That was great visual storytelling. Yeah, man. Brian either told me about it or he sent me the script. I can't remember, but then he showed me. I believe it was Yvonne Rice. Yeah,
Yvonne.
Yeah. I always figure fault on the South American pronunciation. So yeah, I'm sure guys call him Ivan, but I figure it's Yvonne because I think also I've heard Joe Prado and Rod Rice refer to him as Yvonne. So it's like, all right, cool enough. But anyway, yeah, I'm like, oh my God, that's great.
Yeah. I'm on a text thread with him and a few other folks, and we're always sharing art and just and he would share these really highlight pages as you would get them in. Part of which is I'm sure is he's trying to light a fire under my ass, but I'm very competitive. So I see other people doing good work. It pisses me off. Like, fuck you. Why are you so good? Now I got to work and get better.
But that's great, man. Yeah.
But yeah, so he sent me that exact same page, the same way you're talking about it. And it killed me. It was so good.
Yeah. No, but and again, creative competition, not hatred, but like, or just really, God damn, that was fantastic. All right, now the ball's in my court. What can I do to blow them away and everything? Believe me, in a creative, competitive world of broadcasting that I came from, I can relate. And again, it only fuels you to do your job better. And that's fantastic. That's a healthy, creative environment rather than any paranoia or I don't know what they're doing in that room, but it's certainly something that we're not able to do, and you stress out and it fucks you up and everything. No, you don't. You absolutely don't need that. That's man. Jimmy is still on about the Siren Red run and that moment with Hail Hydra and everything. So it's fine. I appreciate your comments, Jimmy. But
he had to make sure. Tony had to make sure.
Yes, and that's fantastic and everything. So yeah, I think you're answering basically. Anyway, I'm leaving it up there for the viewers. It's not germane to our conversation, but I appreciate your thoughts, Jimmy. Thank you very much. Really, man, I'm very excited. I don't. You don't have to tell me how many issues you're planning on doing on Justice League beyond this first arc, or how many arcs you've got planned.
I'm drawing the opening arc, and then scheduling and pace wise, the book is shipping faster than it's not quite double shipping, or maybe it is double shipping for a certain period of time. And so there'll be someone else coming in for a bit, and then the plan is I'll come back in for
okay. All right, and that happened a lot on the Superman and action runs with Brian, and that's cool. And that's fine. Again, I mean, I get the appeal of double shipping or 18 issues a year or whatever works out higher than 12 issues. But I worry more because it really does seem like both companies would take care of artists in that way, and obviously aren't going to give you more than you can handle. I do worry about writers burning out. Brian has been obviously doing this for, a decade at Marvel before, halfway through his Marvel run, before he even started doing it DC. And also knowing the way Brian writes and can write multiple books at a time, I think he's got an organized brain to do it. I know it can burn out other writers, and I know it has burnt out other writers, and I certainly feel for them if that doesn't work out. So that's good to hear. And honestly, man, I'm excited to see what you got coming up for Justice League. That's great. I know we showed all the images, and some here before we go, I'll show some of them again. So you can get that's the new villain that's fighting Black Adam again. That's what I'm calling Shazam. But yeah, so we'll find out more about his story as the run goes. And here's a little better look at Black Adam as well and the villain. And no, man, I'm very excited. This all looks great, and yeah, can't wait to. That's the future state thing. Here's the Infinite Frontier cover. Everybody, you're going to see it tomorrow online or also at your stores. I don't even know how stores are doing it because I know. I mean, again, during COVID, I'll be honest. I've been in contact with my buddies at my stores, but I haven't gone in there. So I don't know if, or even by you, David, if your comic store has DC books on Tuesday and all the other books on Wednesday, or if they just shelve everything on Wednesday.
Yeah, I haven't been in so long. I don't know. So it's
I understand. Okay. Now, really, again, I'll tell you what, everybody. I'll give everyone a final call on any final questions about Justice League in particular, or other stuff that Dave has done. In the last years. Dave, what was your creator-owned book, the 3D book that we talked
about? The Joiners in 3D. Yeah. So John, for those of you who don't know, years ago when Chicago, it was at C2E2, wasn't it? Or is it
probably? Well, no, we did a regular word balloon where you guys were on the phone.
That too, well. And also you also helped out at a panel.
Oh, but you're right. We did the 3D comics panel. That's right.
Yeah.
For Archaea.
Exactly. Yeah. So my previous creator-owned book was with a good friend of mine, Josh Ryan, and we did a visually it's different than my mainstream work called The Joiners in 3D. It's still available on Amazon, wherever you can find it.
Comicsology, Amazon, sure.
Comicsology, exactly. And it was a anaglyph red blue 3D kind of artsy comic. It was a lot of fun, and John, hopefully, I guess with your just appreciation for all things weird, was into it, and so we chatted about it. So so that's still out there for people to pick up.
And for people who don't know, it's a futuristic story. It's kind of a dystopian Jetsons, and it's funny because you guys almost presaged things like what Mark Russell did with the Flintstones, and a lot of the interesting spins that DC people had doing Hanna-Barbera stuff and not doing traditional Hanna-Barbera stories or even the cartoon look. So those characters really were like kind of a weird Jetsons gone wrong. It's much more of a serious, suspenseful story. And again, presented in 3D. Now, I've never seen it, Dave, on digitally on a screen. And how does the 3D effect still work if you got, because you literally, everybody, you had the glasses on and you had the, proper 3D look at it. Wow, I'm almost like Dr. Tongue on SCTV with my 3D effects here with my hands. But yeah, I mean, have you looked at it on screens to see how well it transfers and everything?
Yeah, I'll have to look through and see which versions. It's been a while. I forgot what versions are available where. We ended up doing a 2D release as well, so there's that to grab.
I remember.
The interesting thing about the 3D stuff is actually it worked better on screens than on paper.
Okay, sure.
Because the kind of blue you can get on a screen, the glasses can cut out entirely. Get into that weird ghosting that can occasionally happen with it. On paper, you're limited to the kind of blue you can get on paper, and there's always going to be a little bit of ghosting. So, actually, entertainingly. Without diving too far afield, there's all this digital NFT, Bitcoin stuff going on right now. People are chatting about, and I was looking back at some of my weirder stuff. Like, is there anything here I can maybe get that to focus? Any, kind of use my 3D stuff to maybe try to dabble in this new marketplace. And so I was diving back into my old joiners stuff, and it reminded me just that it worked so much better on screen than on paper to begin with, and. So, it's made me itchy again to start playing with the 3D stuff. So I might be doing some fun stuff with that in the future.
Honestly, that's where I was going, and I'm glad to hear that. Oh, what's the matter, buddy?
My camera's not focused. There we go.
Oh, okay. Because again, we can't tell on our end, so it's been fine the whole time and everything. Oh, like I said, I thought you were Dr. Tongue in 3D for me, But I understand. That's cool. All right. I'm seeing here with some of these questions. Okay, Jimmy wants to know, with this new villain that's in Justice League, did Bendis come to you with a vivid idea or a vague idea, and you guys worked it out together?
So when Brian and I work on new characters, villains especially, it's kind of a mix. One of his favorite kind of tricks is the wrong word, but the one thing he'll do with a lot of artists is dig into your sketchbook and show me all the stuff that scares you. Show me your nightmares and stuff. And so for all, artists, we're always doodling, coming up with random ideas and stuff. And I have, just like sheaves of paper filled with just random, sketches and ideas. And so I kind of combined 7 or 8 different ideas I had played with and came up with this guy based on a rough, like almost like what the personality was for the character, and then I brought the visuals to it. Interestingly, the last time he and I did this a lot was for Iron Man, and a lot of the villains for that book that showed up even after I was off the book were from a bunch of sketches I gave him at the very beginning of it.
Oh, great!
So, you see kind of fun things like this happen every once in a while, where you get to see here's some random shit I had laying around. Let's play with it.
Do you have any statues or toys of designs that you created?
So a couple. So statues, sadly, no. I do have a few of the toys. The most recent one is, so I have a 4-year-old son, and he's just kind of starting to get into playing video games a little bit. Like we don't do too much screen time, but
I understand.
He's playing the Lego Marvel games right now. And the second Lego Marvel game has my Iron Man as the main Iron Man. And I didn't know that. So he pulled up, he was playing it. Hey, Dad, look, I got Iron Man. I looked like, hey, that's mine. I had no idea. So, it's I got a kick out of that. It was fun.
That's awesome, man. That reminds me, I remember Jeff Darrow when and now his daughter is like either final year of college or getting out of college. She's a young woman now. But I remember when he was telling me when she was like, they were in France and his wife is French and they were watching TV, and the very short-lived Big Guy and Rusty the Robot cartoon of the '90s
Yeah.
came on TV, and he wasn't paying attention to what his kid was watching. It was like crossing from one room to another, and he looked at the TV. He's like, "Hey, Daddy drew that." He's like, "Wait a minute, that's awesome. That's mine." And of course, the kid's like, "Yeah, whatever." You know?
The fact that my kid will now say, "Oh, that's Daddy's Iron Man," like that's a
come on, man, that's a big win, 100%, man. No, dude. I'm telling you, I understand, and I know Brian with London. Like, and again, the daughters are lovely, and they are great. Brian's got great kids. I haven't met your kids yet,
family, yeah.
but yes, I mean, really, everybody's terrific, and they're lovely to me. But it is very cute about, and I can appreciate the vicarious thrill father and son get when, hey, can we talk about Spider-Man today, Dad? And he's like, yes, and he's so thrilled. And I know I have nephews. I mean, as I always say, I'm Uncle Buck. I'm single and happy. And when I got to take care of the kids, you don't want to see how, I mean, again, I get the job done, but much like John Candy, it's a very unorthodox way. But my nephew, my oldest nephew, I'm the one that got the nerd shit for the boys. Dad's a jock, and that's okay. I love my brother-in-law. He's a good man. But I'm the nerd. And I remember the youngest one wasn't alive, and it was like Christmas, and we're watching all the Star Wars movies like it was on USA instead of TNT. Nice. Yeah. And this 4-year-old kid looks up, and he's like, I really like Star Wars. Mission accomplished. There we go. Outstanding. I'm like, all right, Uncle Buck is struck. Absolutely. Sorry, kids. You're stuck with a nerd, like it or not. That's all right. He's a good-looking guy. He's doing fine as an adult man. His nerdness has not kept him away from the dating scene. And again, it's a different world now. Now, yeah. I mean, his wife is into some of this stuff. She's like, "What do you know about Doctor Who?" I'm like, "Sit down, kid. I got plenty to tell you. Don't worry about a thing." Let's see. Okay, again, I love the chat that's happening in YouTube in particular, and people who are not clear on what's going on there. You might want to go back and rewatch this and see some of the extemporaneous conversation that's happening alongside mine and David's. Alex says greetings from Houston.
Hey, hometown.
Very nice. Excellent. I love Houston. Houston's a great city. I like Texas is really an interesting state. I certainly feel for everybody that went through the cold snap and the snow.
It was rough. Yeah.
Well, you're back. Okay, fine. There you go. Yeah. I mean, believe me, man, we get it here in Chicago, but I mean, literally decades after giant blizzards, the one thing the city did right was we've got the plows all ready to go. And the minute the heavy shit hits, they come out in droves and they get the job done and stuff. So I can appreciate that. But again, spring hope's eternal. Warm weather is coming. Did you have periods, David, where you didn't have power or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll preface all of it to say, like, we did not deal with what a lot of people had to deal with in terms of the severity of it. But for the week, for the first half of the week, we had more power being out than on. So I didn't get a lot of work done. And then we lost water for most of a week.
Wow.
But we're fortunate, we had a couple tubs we could fill up with snow and
sure.
For someone who's never lost water, you need water to flush a toilet, and so we thought ahead for that. That was good.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, there are people who didn't have tubs to fill with water and were using bags. So we had it okay. We got through it.
I understand, man. No,
and no damage. So we're
it's amazing. Okay, final question, and again, I don't know if you can answer this or not. Did I read right? Oh no, you did say a Black Label, possibly a Black Label Black Adam title. Count me in if it's true.
So okay, so that I'm being clear and explicit, Shazadam or Shazadam, it was a joke. All right, it was a line in a comic, and that is not his proper name. Now, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This is my understanding of it. So no, there's no plan for us to do a Shazadam Black Label book unless the fans demand it.
Do they call him Black Adam, or do they just call him Adam? And if he has a different name, I don't want you to reveal it. No.
I'm trying to think. This isn't any kind of spoilery stuff. So I think normally the way that I've seen it used, at least most recently, is if he's being spoken about kind of in third person, they'll usually call him kind of Black Adam, just be clear.
Sure.
If he's in the room, this kind of just Adam.
Well, sure.
I've seen it
right. Yeah, I know Black Adam. No, and again, I can appreciate on the surface, and this is me saying this. I want this
Sure.
distinct. This isn't Dave's thoughts or comments. I can appreciate that on the surface it may seem awkward and impolite to have a character of color referred to as Black Adam. He obviously is not um, and again, I don't even want to specifically say African American because there are people of darker skin that obviously aren't from Africa. There are, South American and the Caribbean
Sure.
black
Sure.
characters that obviously have nothing to do with Africa. So indigenously, I don't know the origins of their skin color, but
Right.
really, Black Adam, as you know, and as most of us older readers know, Black Adam refers to him being a villain, and his costume less than the idea that it's like a black character like
Yeah.
Jefferson Pierce being called Black Lightning and stuff. And obviously that's okay. But again, in this current minefield of correctness, and I absolutely respect where it's coming from, and
Yeah.
it's fair to ask that question.
Yeah.
I personally, and that's maybe why the idea of Shazam maybe had people concerned that it really might be a real thing. I never thought it was a real thing.
Sure. Sure.
And again, I understand. But again, I can appreciate, at least within the company, what if we have a new reader? Like even 20 years ago when Marvel was doing their Max run, and I
Yeah.
just happened to talk to Derek Robertson about this, and that Max Nick Fury series. And the very adult and in a lot of ways heavy R-rated story that he and
Mhm.
Garth Ennis told obviously not only offended a lot of Marvel readers, it offended George Clooney so much it kept
You
him
didn't
from
want to
doing a
do them.
Nick Fury
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
So I get it, and I can appreciate again, and it's a very long John editorial saying all this, but yeah, I mean, so I understand, but by the same token, it's like, no, that's not the point. And if anything, to educate and to maintain, it's like that's not where it's coming from. This is what we mean. Don't again, it's like I think and I hope that the powers that be are aware of that. But yeah, and to be honest, I don't know what you do with a Rock movie where he might play Black Adam. And are you afraid of? I don't know. Again, there's a CW show that's doing quite well, and it's Black Lightning, and I love
Yeah.
William Kress, and I love the whole cast, and I love the story ideas that have come. I really think Black Lightning is truly one of my absolute favorite DC CW stories. Of course, Black Panther had no problems being Black Panther, so it's weird. It's fucking weird. Anyway, there you go. Oh, here, the story that could happen with Almost Firestorm taking on Black Adam and Shazam. Oh, that's interesting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'm totally for boy, and I'd love to see Firestorm, whatever iteration of Firestorm is out there currently. I think Ronnie Raymond and Jason are the like kind of like the TV. Well, the TV show went a different way, but I believe unless things have changed,
I'm trying to think what the most recent version of it was. Because I mean, again, like there have been so many of them.
Everybody-
But
yeah.
I have thrown the name into the mix, and so we'll see. How,
Cool.
how it plays out.
Cool, excellent, man. No, that's great. Dave, as always, great to see you. I loved where the conversation went. I like seeing the new art, and I'm very confident that you and Brian know what you're doing with Justice League, and it's going to be fun coming up on March 16th to see. Tell me as we leave the Snyder Cut. I mean, honestly, I won't deny. Obviously, was not happy with the finished product that hit the screens
Same
with
here.
Justice League. We could tell that it was half a Snyder movie, half a Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see Snyder's vision without the Whedon influence, much like the Donner cut was always interesting to see
Right.
of Superman 2 without the Richard Lester influence that wound its way in the theater version. But I'm trying to go in with low expectations because at the end of the day, it as you said yourself about doing dark stories and that you wanted something light, I've grown to appreciate Man of Steel. I Batman Superman, the theater version had its problems. The director's cut was better,
Oh, I haven't
but
seen
it but in my opinion still had problems with it.
Yeah.
And it just was still kind of a downer. I and knowing that Justice League is, I mean, and again based on the trailer, There's a lot of interesting other images.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
obviously get a new, different recut on the story. I know no scenes have been added as well. So I'm certainly curious to see it, but I'm going in with low expectations because at the end of the day, the negativity and the darkness of the DC universe as portrayed in the films has just kind of always been a little too downer. The Joker says in the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, why so serious? And
Yeah.
it's like, can we have a little bit of sunlight? Can we have a little bit of levity? So I don't know what your thoughts are going into the Snyder Cut.
Very similar to yours, and interesting. Bringing up Dark Knight is a good kind of reference point. So I remember going into Dark Knight and being so pumped, like, oh, it's like a Michael Mann Batman film. It's so cool. So it's like heat. It's dark. It's it's gritty. It's real. Little. By the end of it, it's like, oh, I asked for a dark Batman movie and I got it, and I don't know how I feel about it. With I'm very interested to see what the unadulterated Snyder cut vision looks like. He has a real knack for evocative imagery. And I think back to the very first trailers for Man of Steel with Superman getting ready to launch and the rocks hovering and then shooting up. And there's really, really cool moments that he gets.
Yes.
I agree that the unrelenting darkness of some of the storytelling is a bit much for me. Some people eat that shit up and good for them. Like, I'm very much, if it rocks your boat and doesn't hurt anyone, go for it.
Sure.
I'm a little bit concerned. Like, I've heard, kind of behind the scenes, like some of the stuff, there's a reason why it got cut initially. So we'll see if that's what we get in the final product. But like you said, the one that hit the theaters, it was two different movies. You could almost feel it cut for cut. That was not the same movie as the previous cut.
If the Justice League movie were a monster, it would be Frankenstein because you could literally see the stitches of the body parts as they connect, and it's like, well, that's clearly a Joss Whedon scene. Well, that's clearly a Zack Snyder scene, and So, well, and I agree here. Jimmy makes a very good point. No one shoots better than Zack, but he does have. Why? If it's learning, Jimmy, I don't know. Learning to do on the storytelling side, I do think some level of clarity. I mean, and again, for me, Zack Snyder bats 500. I love 300. I think Zack Snyder's Watchmen, has aged better.
Interesting.
In the last 12 years because the general public is comfortable now with the idea of superhero storytelling. And I think the dystopia that Watchmen represents, you can appreciate it better in contrast to the Marvel movies, kind of in the same ways that The Boys works. And don't get me wrong, I do think The Boys does it much better and whatever. And also, I appreciate the point of view that Snyder took Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons' story and literally put it on screen with very little changes and stuff. But that's okay. And again, we're just used to the idea of the superhero film genre more. So that's why I think the movie, to me, plays better 12 years later.
I should rewatch it. I mean, The Boys, like you say, it's you've gotten to a point now where you can deconstruct the genre in the film the same way that you had it done in the 80s and later in comics.
You got it.
It's why Deadpool works, right?
Yes.
Deadpool wouldn't have worked in 2005. It works great, now.
Yep. No, and that's funny because literally, both in talking to TV and film people and comic book people, that's the exciting thing. Because, and I'm sure you experienced it as well, around 2013 or so, was that year that the second Wolverine movie, when Scott Pilgrim came out, and whatever else came out that year, there was kind of a meh reaction from the audience. And everyone suddenly said, maybe the superhero genre is, reached that oversaturation point. Right. And it's like, no. I mean, I always compare it to the Western, and especially the silent days of the Western, when it literally was white hat versus black hat. And it was very obvious, the storytelling. Then sound came, but then by starting around the late 40s and into the 50s, you got much more complex Westerns. And again, as we said earlier about the best comic book villains, you had sympathetic villains that you understood their point of view. They were the heroes of their own story, and it was a much more complicated story than white hat versus black hat. And truly, Liefeld and I were talking about Stan Lee's reaction to Deadpool, and this is great. And again, it shows you how with it Stan really was up until things obviously got really creaky at the last couple of years. But like, he's on the red carpet with Liefeld, and he's like, "This is a game changer," and it's like, yeah, it really is, and truly, that's why. No, and that's why the boys works now, and all of these things, where it's
Yeah,
like you said, now we can deconstruct the classic tropes of superhero storytelling, and now we can have comedies like Ant-Man, and Deadpool,
yeah,
and dark stories of, wow, on the surface they seem like all wonderful golden people, and then you get to see the underside, like the boys and stuff like that, and it's brilliant and exciting, and it's great storytelling opportunities. Obviously, it's still happening in the best comics as well,
for
and
sure.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's I think it's a very exciting time, and that's why even these things to come, like Matt Reeves' Batman, and all these the new Suicide Squad, and
Mhm.
oh fuck, it's Peacekeeper, or whatever the actual title of the John Cena thing they're planning for HBO Max.
I'm just going to see John Cena, man. That's all I'm there for. So
Well, and also, and isn't it interesting because obviously Cena? Well, actually, I don't know. I'd have to go back in my wrestling thinking of who came first. I believe The Rock came before Cena, but regardless, it's
maybe,
interesting
yeah.
that The Rock has so broken out mainstream, and now Cena's right behind him. And I'm really glad that a lot of Cena's movie choices have been as smart as they have, and he
Oh
really
yeah,
has developed this great comic persona,
for sure.
and truly, I'm happy for him because when they kind of made him heel for a while in wrestling, I always feel bad for the heroes when they got to be turned into heels, and I know that's part of the
Hard, yeah.
possibilities of being a wrestling character. But like, in fact, it's funny regarding soap operas. I know some soap opera good guy characters. Ken Shriner, who played Green Arrow in the Justice League Unlimited cartoons,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he made his bones in soap operas, and he was
Oh,
part of
okay.
General Hospital as a teenager. And initially, he was one of the good guy teenagers, and oh, he's such a beautiful person. And he and his girlfriend Laura, as in Luke and Laura, which is like a big relationship in General Hospital history, Jeannie Francis. At first, they were like the ideal couple, and then all of a sudden, Laura discovers Luke. Scotty's left in the cold, and they turn Scotty into this scary stalker, bad guy, ex boyfriend. And Susan Eisenberg, Wonder Woman, cartoon Wonder Woman for Justice League Unlimited, is really good friends with Ken, the actor. And I'm like, you tell Ken that Scotty got the rawest fucking deal. And I'm like, I always felt bad. And I mean, again, I don't get so involved where, oh my God, my heart's broken that they've hurt Scotty Baldwin. But by the same time, I'm like, oh, that's too bad. He's a good guy. Now he's got to play a bad guy. That's not fair.
Man, deep cuts, man. That's awesome.
That's like the guy who played the Superboy voice on the old 60s cartoons. Bob Hastings was his name. The same thing happened to him on soap operas. He was like a police captain that was a good guy, and it turns out he's the villain, has a nervous breakdown, is literally his character is written off being carried away in a straitjacket with like kind of a disturbed look on his face as he's being,
Man.
and it's like, oh, come on, man, that's Superboy, for God's sake. What are you doing? It's a crime.
Whenever the fans tell us that we do crazy shit, we got nothing on the soaps, man. We got nothing.
Hey, man, exactly. And truly, episodic storytelling
Yeah,
started with the soap operas, and I'm glad that the rest of now television and films to a degree, and certainly comics have followed in their footsteps. I think that's great.
for sure.
So, all right, bud, we've been John a long time here. We can wrap up again. Justice League issue 1 with Bendis and Dave Marquez hits the stands on March, or I should say, digital first, at least on Tuesday. Maybe your shop's on Tuesday on the 16th, if not definitely the 17th, and just a couple days before the premiere of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So, won't it be
Okay.
interesting to compare and contrast the two
Yeah.
storytellings?
Thank you so much, John. A lot of fun.
As always, David, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. And thank you for your participation as well. Jimmy, final thought. He wants to see a Doctor Who, Doctor Strange crossover so bad. That would be a lot of fun. I got no problem with that. But thanks for watching tonight, everybody. It's going to be a fun week on Word Balloon. Tomorrow, a great boxing conversation with my friends at Ringside Seat. Also, a great filmmaker who just made a documentary about one of the great venues of the West Coast, the Olympic Auditorium, that hosted a lot of sports, but also a lot of cool music as well. I don't believe the film is out on streaming yet. We'll find out more when we have this conversation tomorrow. But it will feature the editorial people from Ringside Seat and the great Eddie Muller, if you're a Turner classic movie fan, also a great patron of Ringside Seat and one of the editors, but also a great comic book fan and the host of Noir Alley on Turner Classic Movies every Saturday night. And I always love talking to Eddie. So that's all coming up tomorrow night on Word Balloon Live.